Viraj Khanna, here we are at the quest in the midst of all these beautiful works of yours, your sculptures, paintings, collages. And the show is called What My Mother Didn't Teach Me. What an interesting title. How did that come about?
I thought that if I do anything related to art or fashion, there'll always be a shadow from my mother because she's such a prominent figure in this line. So I wanted to make it clear, almost in a fun way, to
Yes.
people that this is something I've done on my own without any influence from her side.
Yes.
So that is why this name was something that resounded very. Of course, you selected the name, and I really loved
I
it.
did,
And that is the
yes.
reason I really wanted to
Yes.
go with this name.
Yes, because Anamika is a very well-known personality, and you didn't want that to come across in your work, because
Yeah.
this was an independent body of work that Art Exposure has presented beautifully. So when I first, in fact, heard about you from Shomok, the idea behind the show really intrigued me, because he said that you worked on collages,
Yeah.
but you would be used to fashion magazines from a very
Yeah.
young age.
Yeah.
So the idea of a collage, how was that?
So it was actually during the lockdown, we needed content for our Instagram page and we didn't have anything. So I randomly decided to make certain collages so that we can put them up and maybe use as prints.
I
So
see.
that process started there, and slowly I moved through the collages into different forms like sculptures and paintings.
So is that when you showed the works to Shomok?
He saw it when I was making the collages. He hadn't seen any of the sculptures and paintings. He decided after the collages that he wants to do something further, and he motivated me to take steps further and move on to different forms and do a proper show.
But going back to your childhood again, you've obviously been exposed to textile, to different kinds of material, whether it's fabric or other things. Embroidery is a big part of your mother's repertoire. So what I see around me, especially in the collages, is actually very interesting, because you've got different elements, you've got faces, but you've got other elements woven into it in a very clever way. Would you say that this is something you've learnt early? The fact that you can, combine things in an artistic fashion in a way that is interesting. This has come to you from your early learning, working with your mother?
I would say it influenced me a lot and taught me a lot while working and watching my mother make different embroideries, because when you're making different embroideries, we're always experimenting with different materials, putting different colors together, different threads, different beads.
Yes.
Putting everything together has helped me develop a certain eye, or almost, taught me how to experiment and make things balance out. So the same process that I've seen, I've managed to, translate it into different forms. So even the collages that I'm making, it's about putting different things together.
And there's a lot of humor.
Yeah.
There is a lot of humor. It's not like high fashion and that is not there. And I think what makes it funky and very trendy is the fact that you have an individual voice coming in very strongly. So you're having a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah, I'm really loving the process. I just wanted to show a lot of things in a really fun, in a fun light, because I feel like even society, so many things are happening right now. It's important to also show, the fun aspect of, life right now.
And when it came to your working space, did you have a studio? And were you working alone, or were there people working with you?
So I was working alone. I didn't really have a studio. It was in my house. So, on the terrace, I just had some space. I started painting and making collages there. Sometimes I was doing it in my room, maybe next to my bed. So there was no space. I just found space wherever I was.
You created your own space.
Yeah, and I was working over there. And because of that, my parents are really angry because I destroyed the rooms. There's paint all over the floors. There's paint on the terrace. So it's just, whatever space I got, I started doing my stuff over there.
And so the next stage was the paintings.
Yeah.
And from there you moved to sculpture.
From there I moved to sculpture. So I would say it was a similar time. Like from the collages, I decided to get into both the paintings and the sculptures together, maybe a week, 2 weeks up and down. It was an experimentation and ongoing process. But
hugely ambitious, I would say, Viraj, hugely ambitious, because people take years.
Yeah.
And it's not that you've trained to be an artist. You're completely self-taught.
Yeah.
But of course, you've been looking at art right from the time you were a young boy. But tell me a bit about your sculpture. Is there any influence of a certain Mr. Koons?
I would say, in terms of color, I would say there's a heavy influence of Koons, but I think not in terms of what I'm making, because I think he makes
No, of
real
course.
life figures and he represents things that are already
Yes,
there.
yes.
For me, it's more about creating new things. So it's not something that already exists, it's a different shape, it's different elements together. So
Yes.
Koons would make something that exists, almost, for example, a balloon, he makes it look really
Or a
real.
poodle.
Or a poodle. Mine is different that way, but I love the color sense and the finish. I'm more influenced in that in terms of color and everything from Koons.
Yes. I just wanted to discuss a few works with you. For
Okay.
instance, the work we have here before us. I think it's quite striking, and what is interesting is the story behind it, because there are faces,
Yeah.
kind of, as part of the whole body, and two faces. Would you say?
I would say this has many faces, almost like a person who has so many sides to himself, but he wants to portray only one side to society. So there's actually a figure at the back as well, trying to show that's his true self, but he's showing something else to society.
To
What he wants, a
society.
different picture of himself.
So it's like one person, but there are several other
There are
persons
several.
within that person,
Yeah.
and those are sometimes revealed and sometimes concealed within that figure. That's very
And
interesting.
they're holding themselves together. That's why the hand is above the head.
And also, Viraj, they have different expressions.
They have different expressions.
That's quite interesting. Very interesting. And the other body, of course, who's wearing the jester's
Yeah.
jacket and has huge prominent lips, almost Botoxed.
Yeah.
Tell me the story of that.
So
work.
again, that was a very fun way of me showing, what I was seeing everywhere in society, how people are trying to show themselves as what they are not in a way. So everyone's the plastic surgery faces. It's this thing that we are commonly seeing all over Instagram and everything. So that's why the plumped up lips and the goggles, also almost to show a fun side of life. I mean, I'm not saying it's a negative thing, but it's just a fun way of showing what I've been watching.
Yes.
And there's a boat shape as the base, almost like they're floating through life, kind of a feeling for me.
So it's not like you're mocking life or you're mocking at people in any which way, but it's a fun take on things that you see. How do you relate to this whole Instagram phenomena? Obviously, I realize that it's a part of your life.
Yeah.
And you're on Instagram very often. So tell me a bit about that.
So I don't see it in a negative way, but I think it influences a lot of people because they're always comparing themselves to other people. When you see on Instagram people doing different things, but you only see one side of a person on Instagram. No one puts every single thing. So it's just a fun way of me portraying the sides of people through my art.
But Instagram is what you had used initially first when you started?
Yeah.
It was for Instagram that you posted images?
Yeah, I just posted because we didn't have an Instagram page. So I was taking all the pictures. My parents don't know how to use Instagram. So I was just handling that because everyone was on Instagram at that time and our brand needed it.
Yeah.
It was almost like the kids needed to get into it and make sure the Instagram works. So it was a decision like that. So that's how I started working in the business, by handling the Instagram and the social media.
And then found it useful when you were doing your own work?
Yeah. Now I know I need it. Like, for your work, you really need Instagram, if it's art or fashion.
And since I follow you, I know that you're also talking a lot about the process of your work, because the way you work, the way you make these images happen. There's another image, in fact a sculpture right at the entrance. Tell me a bit about that work. Interesting face and body. Tell me a little bit about that.
So in that piece, it's actually two people that have merged together. So one is on the left side. If you notice carefully, there's one small hand and a big hand. The small hand is of a person and is merged with another person. That's why there's a big hand and a small hand. It's two people together, almost like a couple that that's been merged together. And there's a shape of a heart, if you notice, on the face. So it's like a couple, maybe you could say in love because of that heart shape. And they are merged together and they are created in the form of a sculpture.
Now, I also noticed some animal heads, like the cow or the body of a goat.
Yeah.
And images like that one, where you have a huge flower, which is part of a body. So these different elements that are merging together. I mean, are you trying to say something? I mean, this whole thing about animals, elements of nature.
So in terms of elements, I think every element has a different story to tell.
Yeah.
So for me, I take different elements and put them together to almost show a complete picture. But all these sculptures and these sculptures come out of my process of creating collages. So I take elements from different magazines and encyclopedias, maybe a hand from somewhere, maybe a face from
Yeah,
somewhere,
yeah.
maybe half-cut bodies from somewhere, maybe
Yeah.
shoes from somewhere, and I put them together.
Yeah.
So almost like different objects combining to form a certain object and different experiences merging, and that's how I create these sculptures through that process. So each element may mean something different to someone else, but when you combine them, it's a story to tell.
Tell me a little bit about the work over there. That Ganesh-like
Okay.
head, but combined with another figure, and I can just see the torso, I can see the skirt, those bright, vibrant checks.
So in that piece, it's actually two people merged together. That's why you'll see four hands and almost like like someone just standing, giving up.
Yes.
Maybe you could think of it as almost feeding itself. And that face is the shape of an elephant. And if you
Yes.
notice the sculpture from one side, there's an elephant drawn on it. Most people see this piece as a Ganesha, but I wanted to make it as an elephant face and two people merged in the body, but people see it as a Ganesha.
That's your way, the way you
it's mine.
personally want to interpret.
Yeah.
Coming to the paintings, tell me a little bit about any of the works that you would like to tell us about. Is there any particular painting that speaks to you more than the others?
So there's one painting over there that I would like to talk about. It's actually merging a human and a cow. That's why I've used those soft, whites and the reds and the blacks and merged it, almost looking like an animal, with the colors of a cow, and there's a human face. So I like to work with the cow because there's so much power given to it in India, and it just makes me. I'm just excited by the whole concept, and that's why I merged a person and a cow almost to show the power in a single person. When they are merged together because of the impact it has in India.
So since you are talking about, you were talking about India in that context, what I would like to ask is that, you live in Kolkata. So how does the city affect you? Every city has a different vibe.
Okay.
And Calcutta is totally unique in everything everything it stands for. How do you see the city? How do you see it influencing you and your thoughts?
So I think Kolkata is really beautiful in its own way. The infrastructure, the houses, people really believe in tradition. So and they're the best artisans and the craftspeople in Kolkata. So I think it really makes a difference being here, in the sense that because you have so many people to learn from, you watch them directly, you learn from them, you take ideas from them. So it's the craftspeople in India, and especially they are so into their whole culture and process. So it's influenced me in the sense that there's so many opportunities available because of the talent available in India.
Yeah, because every time I visit the city, there are so many things that somehow register in my mind, because nowhere else, I think, in India you hear street sounds as much as you hear in Calcutta. It's like the city is always present around you, with its different vibrations. Whether it's the person who says "Silkatao" and he's trying to tell you that this is what his profession is. From there to a simple cobbler or the Chana Churgaramwala in Victoria Memorial. So the city is very present, even to a person who visits once in a way, but to a person living in the city, to an artist like yourself, I think the city speaks out, and that is very much present in your body of work. Now, the work behind you, there is the guy is holding a tower.
Yeah.
What does that stand for?
So this piece almost looks like a person, looking up at the sky, and I put the tower in front of him because it's almost ambitious. When let's say you're standing on a road and there's a huge building, you just look up and you look at the tower and gives you a certain kind of an energy. So I've instead merged all these objects together in one person. So the tower is attached to the head, almost like he's looking for something, or maybe he's a little ambitious, looking for something in life. And there's a mask on the person again to show there are many sides to a person. That's why there's a shape on the face, almost like the two people again, like different sides of a person.
So if at all I call it your critique or your criticism of society, it would be that people sometimes are not as honest. There are different faces, and so that apart from that, does the contemporary society and its various forms of hypocrisies. Does it bother you? You think?
I don't think it bothers me, but I just it's just something that
You react
I
to it.
notice. I just
You
notice.
notice it.
Yeah, and I think people are beautiful in their own way, and everyone has their own experiences in life, and they learn from that and they grow from that. And it's okay to feel vulnerable and feel
And to put your best face forward.
exactly.
That is important.
And there's no need to hide things and mask things. At least maybe you can be your true self with a lot of people, and I love that feeling.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you very much, and good luck with your next project.
Thank you so much.
This is wonderful to sit in the midst of all your works. And Art Exposure has done a wonderful show, and I think people in Kolkata will enjoy this very much. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Good luck.